You're with Northern Miner, and we are at the 2025 PDAC conference. Now, mining is a tough business. It requires ways to fight complexities. You need to know your business and have efficiency at every turn. Now, that's where the next company I'm speaking to comes into play, Pronto Solutions. And it is a pleasure to welcome the mining lead, Reece Taylor, talking to us. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Devin, thank you.
I just spoke about efficiencies in mining. It's not just about digging metal from the ground. There's so many complexities knowing how to run an operation. That's where your company comes in. You want to give us an overview of the service you deliver to the mining community?
Yeah, so PSA is a reseller of Pronto. So Pronto is an ERP, enterprise resource planning software. And it basically kind of handles all of the financial transactions, asset management, inventory management from all the different aspects of the business. So it kind of integrates all of those functions to allow the business to take their business processes, fit them into that software, and allow them to kind of take what they're doing in the real world and kind of data capture that in Pronto.
Oh, how did you identify the gap in the market here in terms of what you are supplying?
So we've got folks that are in mining. They've been in mining for decades. We've got controllers, we've got CPAs. So we kind of have we're not just software people. A lot of times you might, and that's fine. You might get people who just know the software. They can kind of walk you through how to use the software. But I think where we can really help is where we come in and we understand mining. We understand the business process. So when those processes are, we're going through that, maybe a workshop or something and working through with the actual teams, the supply chain team, the maintenance team, we can really guide them and say, hey, this is what we've seen other companies do. This is what we've done in the past, and we know it works, and we know it works with Pronto.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because what the software does, as I understand it, that it sort of consolidates all these different operations you speak about onto one platform. And that's the key value in this, isn't it? Tell me more about that.
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, Pronto is fully integrated. It's going to take all these different aspects of any business, capturing the financials, supply chain, cutting purchase orders, the maintenance guys raising work orders, managing your inventory. You've got a warehouse with thousands of items in it and keeping track of what those are and who's using them and when. The system allows, it's going to integrate all those things so they're all talking to each other.
Let's talk about synergies that you see developing in the future. What can we expect?
Yeah, I think synergies for us is we're doing a lot of partnerships right now. So while the ERP does do all the integrations and it ultimately does all the data capture to allow people to report and understand their business better, there are definitely opportunities where we can partner with different applications like a Flow-centric or like a token that allow us to say, utilize Pronto through APIs on like a mobile app. So it's a little more user-friendly. Or maybe you have maintenance technicians that are actually out in the field and they don't have a laptop accessible or a tablet accessible. Like just being able to get on your phone and access an application that talks back to Pronto and vice versa. Or like a Flow-centric that can help facilitate maybe like an AFE process, authorization for expenditure for your capital purchases, right? For a lot of mining companies, that happens outside of the system. It happens on paper, through emails, etc. But Flow-centric helps kind of facilitate that workflow process for us and then feed that information back into Pronto. So ultimately, it's just basically continuing that integration kind of mindset with other platforms that kind of fill gaps that maybe an ERP might not necessarily do exactly what you want it to do.
Well, that's very interesting indeed. And Reece, as I'll let you go, can I ask you, where do you see growth coming from? Because growth is important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, I feel like we've been growing, pretty rapidly over the last few years. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to identifying, the clients that need an ERP. We find that our niche is kind of in those juniors to 3, 4, 5 assets. So whether it's companies that are having assets sold off from a Newmont or a BHP or something like that who are looking for an ERP solution, we kind of come in and we'll implement the finance module or the projects module that kind of helps facilitate maybe where they're at today with their business, and then that business can grow with Pronto. And I think some of it's also just kind of getting the recognition for Pronto, right? So the OEM for Pronto is in Australia. you're an Australian mining company, Pronto is going to be the first thing that comes to mind when you're thinking about what you want. While Pronto in North America we're still trying to push and get people and make it, the same. When people think ERP, they're not just thinking SAP or JD Edwards or Oracle, they're thinking about Pronto too.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Very interesting stuff indeed. Reece Taylor, the mining lead at Pronto, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it.